I think whatever amount of sleep you get, you want it to be the best sleep possible because sleep is the ultimate amplifier of health, wellness, and performance. And having a consistent bedtime and wake time. Get outside and get 10 minutes of morning sunlight.
No social media late at night. Don't cover your hands with mittens or your feet with socks. That's a big list.
If you just consistently take small actions over time, you're going to sleep better and you're going to feel better as well.
Welcome to the Hard Way podcast with Joe Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan Races. We're teaching you how to overcome your obstacles in your life the same way we teach our 10 million plus Spartans to overcome obstacles on the course. With insight from the smartest, most accomplished experts from every corner of the world. Get ready to elevate your life today.
Joe Sena here, CEO and founder of Spartan and host of the Hard Way podcast. I got my buddy Andrew Vontz on. He's got the Better Lab. He's going to teach us how to sleep better. Who doesn't want to sleep better? Now, I would argue, and I've been arguing forever, Andrew, that we should sleep when we're dead. We got a lot of work to do here while we're on the planet. But we probably should sleep. I'm probably being a little ridiculous there. What do you think?
I think whatever amount of sleep you get, you want it to be the best sleep possible because sleep is the ultimate amplifier of health, wellness, and performance. And that's why we built the Better Lab to guide you to build those small science-backed practices that are proven to improve sleep, get consistent with them, stack them up over time so that you're getting the best sleep of your life every day. In terms of why should you believe that I have any credibility or expertise as it relates to sleep, I have a company, it's called the Better Lab. And what we do is we guide people to build science-backed practices to sleep better, that stick. I was an executive at Strava for 7 years, and I helped to grow the company to 100 million users and to become highly profitable. And during my time there, something that I noticed is that highly motivated, health-conscious, active people like us, they have no problem when it comes to getting more exercise. Typically, it's just a function of time. When it comes to everything else for that health-conscious, active, motivated person, that's things like sleep. People tend to suck at sleep. They tend to not make great nutritional choices. They might be able to run a marathon, but they can't touch their toes. As I started to dig into what the potential business opportunity was to help these customers with everything outside of just being active with my partner, David Lorsch, who I co-founded the Better Lab with, he was the chief revenue officer at Strava. I was a communications executive. We just noticed that the thing that's the foundation of everything else when it comes to health, wellness, and performance is sleep. It's really the ultimate amplifier of all of those things. And I would say, even if you're someone like you, Joe, who has an ethos of like, you'll sleep when you're dead, or you're somebody who goes out and does multi-day races, whatever sleep that you get, you want it to be the very best sleep possible. You want it to be as restful as possible. And in order to do that, there's a lot of open source information out there. We've dug into the literature. We've looked at all the studies, all the meta-analyses, and we've worked with one of the top sleep scientists in the world, Dr. Eddie Ben-Simone. She's at UC Berkeley. She's an advisor to our company. And we've also worked with top behavioral scientists and high-performance practitioners, people like Dara Harris, who's a medical doctor who's worked in high performance for a long time, with some people you know, like athletes at the Toronto Blue Jays and a lot of other high-performance populations, and Dr. Jen Lebrecht, who's one of the world's leading behavioral scientists. So what we did is we worked with this team of advisors, and we curated from all of the things you can potentially do to improve your sleep. We boiled it down to what are the essential things? What are the highest impact, highest leverage things that you could possibly do to improve your sleep? We initially have identified about a dozen of those things. And then what we've done is we built a system to help guide you to do these one practice at a time, because behavioral science shows us the very best way to actually change your behavior is to pick a small, simple, achievable thing, work on one thing at a time, get consistent with it. Then we help you stack other things on top of that to build it into a routine. Now, one of the things, Joe, that we do that's quite different from other sleep solutions out there is you don't need a wearable to use the Better Lab. It turns out that the billions of years it took us as human beings to evolve and be here on the planet has refined us into an exquisitely sensitive sensor for almost everything, and as it pertains to sleep. So if you talk to top sleep scientists, one of the things that they'll tell you is even if you were to go into a sleep lab and do a sleep study, and they have you hooked up to clinical grade sensors, they'd say this is useful directional information. But if you wake up and say, hey, my perception is I got a bad night of sleep, the sensors say you got a good night of sleep, what they assume is that the sensors are missing something, and self-rating your sleep quality is actually the gold standard.
So it's so funny you say it because I was a very early investor in Aura, the Aura ring. And so I wore an Aura ring, and again, I have the ethos of sleep when you're dead. And we were living in Japan at the time, and I would look at my scores, my sleep scores from the ring, and they were terrible. And so I started to modify things in my life to make them better, but they were still terrible. And it turned out that my wife, unbeknownst to me, had two apps on her phone. One to alert her with any shark attack that would occur anywhere in the world at any time, and two, any earthquake that would occur anywhere in the world. So we were getting pings all night. I was waking up. I was getting a terrible night's sleep. My point is, over time, over probably a 3-month period, I started to adjust some things in my life that were clearly obvious that I should change, but they weren't obvious enough for me, and my sleep got better. To your point, what I didn't like was I didn't like knowing that some monitor told me I got a bad night's sleep, when for most of my life I just muscled through. I just figured out how to get through my day in the most optimal way possible. So I didn't want to know. So once I made those changes, once I completely understood that eating too close to bedtime, eating the wrong foods, I don't drink, but having a drink close to bedtime, having a shark attack and earthquake attack app on your phone is probably having the lights on, the room not being cold enough. Like once I made those adjustments, I don't want to know because I'm going to muscle through anyway. Is that crazy talk?
No, I don't think that's crazy talk. And in fact, what you experience is very in line with academic literature that's starting to emerge on this topic. There's actually a great study. I can send you the link to it. And in this study, they gave subjects sham sleep feedback. And again, if you talk to sleep scientists, what they'll tell you is consumer products like Aura, Whoop. I've used all of the products. I used them for years. Right now, I have a Garmin watch, which also gives you a sleep score. What sleep scientists will tell you is useful about these products. They can roughly tell you what time you went to bed, what time you woke up. The proprietary sleep scores that they're giving you are just that. It's kind of a black box. Nobody really knows what goes into giving you that sleep score, which is actually why a lot of professional sports teams aren't using wearables. That's kind of the direction things have moved in high performance. In addition to that, wearables also don't give you very accurate sleep staging information. And a lot of people, what happens is they get trapped in this loop where they wake up, they see a score, or they see, their device tells them you got no REM sleep or no deep sleep. It actually makes them really anxious. It ruins their day. And then they have trouble sleeping. And that's what this study did. It gave people a fake sleep score, and it demonstrated just that. Like, it can really ruin your day.
You didn't even need to spend the money on the study. Somebody could have just called me.
Completely. And if you talk to people in high performance and professional athletes, and I've worked with many over my years at TRX and then at Strava and as a journalist, and also through our advisory board at the Better Lab, which, by the way, you can download for free in the Apple App Store. Just search for the Better Lab. What professional athletes will tell you, and the people who work with them, is they don't want their athletes, even if they're using a device to direct data longitudinally to look for trends, they don't want people looking at their devices when they wake up to train or go to compete. Because I'm sure you've had this happen before. I've had the experience many times when I was using a Whoop or Aura ring. The week you go to do a race, for a lot of people, you're traveling, it's very high stress, you're trying to squeeze everything in, be a good dad, partner, mom, whatever the case may be. You get to the location, there's something called the first night effect that is very widely studied in sleep science, where your first night of sleep everywhere typically is going to be awful. And that's an evolutionary biology thing, because your body's telling you to be vigilant because you're in a new location and there might be dangerous things. Like, we don't really need that anymore when you're staying at the Hyatt or your Airbnb or whatever, or maybe you do, but typically it's going to be a bad night of sleep. And guess what? When you wake up on race day, if you get a red sleep score, what are you supposed to do? Go back to bed? No, you're going to suck it up and go do the race. So seeing that information is not going to help you. But what does help you is if you just consistently take small actions over time that science proves will improve your sleep and then keep stacking more of those, you're going to sleep better and you're going to feel better as well. Like the one that I'm working on right now is limiting any time on social media at night. So I've got a cutoff time. And again, there's emerging research that scrolling social media is particularly bad for your sleep. It's way worse than just watching a program like, streaming a show or whatever. It does something uniquely horrible to your brain in terms of waking you up and activating a lot of fear and anxiety. So shutting that off earlier is going to help you. We help you do that, and we then help you reflect on how you slept so you can notice the change. So it's indisputable. That's going to make you sleep better. And guess what? The thing that I do, and this is something we have people do with every practice, we don't just have you pick a practice and set a goal like I'm going to stop scrolling social media at 8:30 p.m. We have you pair it with something that you actually enjoy doing. So for me, I'm reading more books now. Like I love reading. I trained as a writer. I have an MFA in creative writing. I was a journalist, but like a lot of people, I seem to have forgotten I could just pick up a book, Joe, and like read for 20 minutes or a half hour instead of getting sucked into nothingness on my phone. So now I'm doing something I really enjoy. There's also a lot of evidence reading, particularly fiction, is highly beneficial for neuroplasticity and cognitive health in the short term and long term. I'm doing something good for myself. And it's just like compound interest. Just you get these compounding gains over time as you take these tiny actions. And it's that simple. It's just one small thing every day.
I have an instinct towards what's going to give me a better night's sleep. I don't know what you've put together with all these experts, but I'm going to take a stab, if it's okay, at laying out some things and you tell me good or not. I love the fact that, I mean, and that's obvious, scrolling on your phone at night is bad. Not as bad, it sounds like, as watching a TV show. The best is reading a book. So I love that information. Next would be for me, I always felt that if I didn't eat 4 hours before bed, that was optimal. Does that sound about right?
It's interesting. We've dug into all the literature on this. There's really conflicting information about whether eating and eating which macronutrients have what impact on your sleep. However, again, I would say you know your body better than anyone else. And if you notice that that's effective for you, then you definitely should follow your body and what it's telling you.
So yeah, because some people have said to me, "What do you mean a lion goes and eats its prey and then goes right to bed?" And I don't know. I've always felt worse going to bed on a full stomach. Clearly, having a drink, any alcohol before bed, we agree on that one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So no alcohol. Cold shower before bed.
Okay. This is really interesting. So people think, why do you think people should take a cold shower?
Well, you'd think it would wake you up, but I guess if you take the cold shower, you're cooling your body down, and then it's fighting to get warm, and in that process, puts you to bed. I don't know.
This is counterintuitive. So this is how the science of water exposure prior to bed works. You do want to get water exposure. However, somewhat counterintuitively, you want to get hot water exposure. So ideally, you want to get around 10 minutes of hot water exposure. We could call hot water probably around 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher for 10 minutes, 1 to 2 hours prior to bed. And what this does, and that could be, if you happen to be lucky enough to have a hot tub, you can do a hot tub, a bath, a shower. So what happens when you heat the surface of your body shunts blood into your extremities. So it goes from your heart to your hands, feet, and the surface of your body. Your hands and feet in particular, because they're high surface area, are the best things at dispersing your body heat. So after you get out of that hot shower, your body's releasing heat and it's starting to cool down. And in order to go to bed, your body temperature needs to drop about 0.5 to 1 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, just a bit of a tangent related though. A lot of people, Joe, think, hey, if I want to be the optimal temperature when I sleep, I need to go buy a $5,000 cooling mattress, and that's magically going to give me the best sleep ever. And forget it. I don't have to do anything else. I'll just get on this thing. It'll cool me down and I'll go to bed. That's great if you can afford one of those products and there is some science behind that. It could help cool you down. However, you can, go get the Better Lab, or you can try to do this on your own. I think the system we put together is really effective at helping you do it consistently, which is the most important thing. Take a hot shower, go to bed, and this is going to blow your mind, Joe. I'm about to share this incredible technology that not a lot of people have thought about. If you want to stay cool throughout the night, untuck your sheets or your blanket and have your hands and feet exposed because they disperse heat very effectively. So if you need to cool off, your hands and feet will do the job for you.
I love it. So don't wear mittens or socks.
Yeah, please don't wear mittens or socks to bed. Yeah.
Any benefit to having a super comfortable mattress? I was thinking this morning, knowing that I was going to do this interview, I said, for 1 million years on the planet, we slept on rocks and we did pretty well.
I think that's exactly right. I think kind of similar to food, there's not a lot of science that has conclusively demonstrated you need any particular surface to sleep on. Humans are highly adaptive, so whatever you personally find to be comfortable is going to be the most effective.
So if you find a super comfortable mattress that you like, you're probably going to sleep better.
Yeah, sure. And some people, as you said, some people actually prefer to go sleep outside on the ground if they can do that electively. If you're not doing it electively, it's not a very fun thing.
What's funny about that, and you will appreciate it since you're a cyclist, is any huge bike rides that I've done or huge runs that I've done to the point of exhaustion, which obviously helps me get great sleep, right? Like maybe we're not working hard enough, some of us, and that's why we're not getting great sleep. But I could lay on a gravel driveway and it's the best gravel driveway I've ever laid because I'm that tired.
Being tired is a key component of getting good sleep. So yeah, work hard during the day and that's going to help you get good sleep as well. It's definitely very beneficial for your health to get exercise. I will say with exercise, Joe, this is again, there was actually an article in the New York Times last week about this topic of what's the best time of day to exercise to get good sleep, or what impact does it have? Again, I've taken a very deep dive into this topic with Dr. Eddie Ben-Simon, our sleep science advisor. She's at UC Berkeley. She's a co-author with Matt Walker, the author of the book, Why We Sleep, on many of his top papers. And the science is really mixed. And in fact, for me, looking at the science has completely changed my behavior. I'm an entrepreneur, early stage startup. Joe, you know how the hustle is. Sometimes you're going to be working from 5 in the morning till 10 p.m. And if you want to get a workout in, where are you going to squeeze that in? So for me, it's like previously, sometimes I would just say, I'm going to stop and go to bed. But what I found is I wasn't actually, I'm much more relaxed and I'm a nicer and better person. Number one, when I get enough sleep. And number two, when I relieve some of that stress that I'm experiencing, like we all do, through exercise. So what I've found for myself is whenever I can do the exercise is the best time to do it, because the science, it's not like, hey, if you work out at 8, you're not going to be able to sleep. That's not actually what the science shows. So just work out and then go to bed.
I would tend to agree with you. What the hell do I know? I'm not a scientist, but we've had 11 million people cross the finish line. I've done a lot of podcasts, so I've had a lot of anecdotally done research, I guess you could say. And you got to get the workout done. For me personally, morning's better. You're less likely to miss it if you get it done and out of the way in the morning, but you got to get it done.
Whatever you have to do it to get it done. I think part of what's interesting about having this conversation is I'm happy to share all of the information that we use to then guide people to do these practices. Because again, what we've discovered from talking to literally hundreds of people who are in this category of I'm health conscious, I want to have a long life, I want to enjoy all of it, and I want to enjoy today and feel good. What we found is that doing what we're doing right now, if you're listening to this and just hearing this information, for 99.999% of people, even highly motivated people, is not going to get you to go do these things consistently. And in fact, there's a cognitive bias, Joe, that you might be aware of called the fluency effect. So that's where you see or hear something and you conflate receiving that information with actually doing it. So that would be like, I go watch a bunch of Jimi Hendrix videos on YouTube. Suddenly I think I'm the world's best guitarist. I was explaining this to my son recently, who's 8 and is very passionate about Jimi Hendrix right now. and loves to play, but we keep talking. Recently, he mentioned to me, "Hey, Dad, some people are just born as these gifted musicians." I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. That's not how this works. If you want to shred like Jimi Hendrix, I'm really glad you're listening to this. I'm glad that you're practicing, you're on your guitar, but do it as much as possible until you can't do it anymore and do it every day because that's how you get great at it." Anyway, bit of a tangent there. So what have we missed? So some of the things that you can do that are going to improve your sleep that we help you work on at the Better Lab. Number one, having a consistent bedtime and wake time. Seems super basic. And again, someone like yourself, Joe, who's traveling a ton, you're going to a lot of different events, you have business obligations, switching time zones, it can be really tough. But in general, you just want to try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. That's really one of the most important things you can do. The second thing, and again, this one sounds so basic, people have heard it a million times, but it's really surprising to me how few people do it consistently, given how powerful it is. As soon as you wake up, some of us get up before the sun gets up, but as soon as the sun is in the sky, get outside and get 10 minutes of morning sunlight. Even if it's overcast, don't wear sunglasses. And that's going to help anchor your circadian rhythm, and it's going to set you up for a better night of sleep if you do it consistently. And it's also this great opportunity, going back to this idea of stack small things. Like for me, my morning sunlight practice started with getting the morning sunlight. Then it became, I'm walking my dog. So my dog's happy, I'm moving, I'm getting a walk in. I'm also a Zen practitioner. So that's a time of day when I do a walking meditation. So I'm getting morning sunlight, I'm walking my dog, the dog's getting exercise, I'm getting exercise, I'm doing a meditation, and I just feel so much better, to the point that now, if something happens with the schedule with the kids or whatever, and I miss the morning sunlight, I feel it so intensely, because a lot of people just wake up. The first thing they do is they pull out a device, they look at the device, they get in a box, which is their car or a train, then they go to another box, which is their office. And then at some point, like maybe they go outside to get lunch. Just go outside and get morning sunlight.
I agree. I'm usually on my run when the sun is coming up, and I agree with that for sure. I've always wanted to earn that sunrise.
If you're someone who drinks coffee or tea, consumes caffeine, this is a big one as well. Stop doing it at noon. So if you love coffee, you want to have a couple of cups of coffee or a latte or whatever the case may be, that's fine. Cut it off at noon. The half-life of caffeine is about 10 hours. And you want to make sure that by the time you go to bed, that you're starting to get the caffeine out of your system. If you have it afternoon, you're just increasing the chance that it's going to disrupt your sleep. And again, like you'll meet a lot of people who will tell you, caffeine doesn't really impact me. I could drink an espresso before I go to bed. And just like look into the science. Caffeine does impact people slightly differently, but in aggregate, it can really disrupt your sleep. So try to stop it before noon. And again, that's one of our practices. We can guide you to start time shifting your caffeine consumption to prior to noon.
Wait, I don't want you to give away the entire farm, but I want to just recap where we are. No social media late at night. Consistently go to bed the same time. Read a book before bed if you can. You're opting for hot shower versus cold. Don't cover your hands with mittens or your feet with socks. Expose the hands and the feet. Figure out what time you should finish eating because the science is elusive there, but you could figure it out on your own. Get sunlight early in the morning upon waking. Don't drink coffee after 12 noon.
Yes.
That's a big list.
There are more. And also, this entire list, by the way, is available for free on our website. Go to thebetterlab.io. And again, I'm happy to give away all of this information because everyone should have it to be empowered to make the right choices. And if you actually want to do these things, that's what we're there to help you do.
I love it. And people just find you at?
Yeah, you can go to thebetterlab.io and you can search for the Better Lab in the Apple App Store. You can get that app for free and start using it today. We'll guide you to pick practice for you that fits into the time you have. We'll get you started with something simple, and then we'll help you build momentum to take on higher order challenges like getting off of social media. I didn't mention this, Joe, but just like If you look at the behavioral science around this concept of ego depletion, people are going to be more successful if they start with something simple, right? Start with the simplest, most achievable, easiest thing first, move on to higher order challenges later. I don't know if anyone's ever just jumped into the death race without having done any ultra endurance events before.
They have, funny enough. But we had this young girl, her name Athena, I can't even believe it. She went and did the exact order like you're suggesting. She did our shortest distance race. She stepped it all the way up to the death race and then won the death race.
Way to go, Athena. Yes.
Like 20 years old. And she said, I was smoking cigarettes. I had the worst lifestyle. And I heard about Spartan and I just progressively followed the program all the way to the death. And she won the day. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Unbelievable. I thought I was being set up.
That's how it's done. Start simple, do it every day, and pretty soon you're going to win the death race.
You're awesome. Let's figure out some stuff we could do together. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.